1, 2, 3, go. Well, friends, welcome back to another episode of Legacy Unscripted. Today, we are really going off the cuff. Today, JerriAnn and we're talking about something that's really a big deal. It's not something that most people would be talking about on the podcast, maybe, but maybe not in our realm. But JerriAnn got a download from the Lord to make a movie. Yeah, like not just with your iPhone. I'm talking like full cinematic Hollywood. It's going in the theaters. But of course, if JerriAnn's going to make a movie, if Matt Webb's going to make a movie, it's going to be about family. And this movie, friends, is called Repair the Breach. JerriAnn, we just need to, first of all, we need to talk about how do you go from a light breaks through, going into strip clubs, rescuing the women, going into churches, rescuing the women and the men, you know, being that evangelist of who you are. And then all of a sudden it's like, you get a movie download? Tell us. I mean, come on.
Yeah, man, there's so many ways I can answer that. I think it's just the short answer would be you say yes to the Lord. And so the things that, and I probably shared this with you, the things that Matt and I have said yes to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 3 years ago, we are walking in the fulfillment of things, of our calling, our assignments, because we said yes to those things so long ago. So it starts with just wanting to be obedient to whatever the Lord is telling us, no matter how it looks, no matter if it looks crazy or people don't understand it. Because I got a lot of pushback from walking in a strip club and wanting to help women there. And not everybody thought that was a great idea. Uncle Troy loved it, right? But that's because he's our people. But there were a lot of people and pastors that had a problem with that. But I knew that God had sent me. And so I think to answer your question is saying yes to the Lord and not backing down, because I know that I've heard from him again and again and again. So whether it's, you know, doing the Light Breaks Through or having our conferences, so many testimonies from that because they were such like a step of faith, huge risk financially when we first started. I don't know if we've talked about that. So it was saying yes to that, man, it just led to saying yes to a movie that costs much more than a conference, than an event. Did that answer it? What was the question, John?
No, that was it. That was it. And you know what I believe is that God can trust you because there's like Moses, right? So God asked Moses to go and do something, and then Moses wants to disqualify himself. I can't. And I believe that God is, you and Matt had said yes to God on probably things that most people would say no to. And so for him to give you something that is way out of your wheelhouse, something that's outside, the Lord knew that you would say yes. Now, you said something to me recently. You said, "Hey, John." Yeah, you're like, hold on. What thing did I say? But you know, my wife and I, on a conversation that you and I were having, the Lord spoke to my heart and said, "You're moving to Florida."
Oh, yeah.
And when I got here, you turned around and you said, "Hey, John, now have you regretted? Have you had any regret yet for what God had said?" And I was like, "It stop. It's okay. I can. There you go."
Hey,
Go
don't
ahead,
edit that. Angel's turning off the fan. Thank you. Sorry, John.
So,
have you had any regret?
yeah, we're back on. So now, I remember you said something to me not long ago because my wife and I, through a conversation you and I were having, the Lord spoke to me and said, "You're moving to Florida." And when we got here, it was like, we did what? Like, dude, that was crazy. And one of the things that brought me so much peace is you said to me, you said, "John, have you had regret yet with the decision you made? Have you looked at this and said, I think I missed God?" And I was like, well, you know, you think as followers of Christ, as you know, I'm Pastor John coming from Open Door Church. we think we have it all figured out, but to have someone like you say, John, anything that I've done that has been worthwhile for the Lord, man, I've had serious like contemplations after, like, I think I missed it.
Yeah. And I don't know if I ever used the word regret. I've used the phrase, oh God, what have I done? Like, you just have that because those moments because it is great risk. And those moments where you put everything on the line from a word from the Lord. And so I've come to know that that question, oh God, what have I done, is a part of it, and how to push through that. I had that question again last week on something, and I had to push through. I think it's 1 John 3:20 that says, if my heart condemns me, God is greater than my heart. And so I even said, God, if I missed it, and I know I didn't miss it, I heard from the Lord, but it's like, God, you are bigger than my mistake. And you are bigger than my mistake. If my heart condemns, you're greater than my heart. And what happens is, man, it shifts my focus. It reframes my mind, like we talked about a few weeks ago. But anything worth doing, I think there's a component that you'll have with that question.
Well, and I think also it's like Gideon. Here we are. We're in what's comfortable to us, and so when God is doing something great that is going to have tremendous impact, we're typically not going to know how to do that thing. It's going to be greater than us. It's going to be bigger than us. It's going to require more wisdom, more understanding, more faith.
Yes.
And it's all those things. Okay. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. So God gave you an idea for a movie. You're the person that wrote the book, Heaven in My Home. And right now, on the other side of that glass, there is a world who thinks that they can't get heaven in their home. It's almost like it's unachievable. What did God ask you to do?
With the book or with the movie?
The movie.
The movie. So, man, this is a few years. Goodness, it's been so long ago now. Make a movie about family and what's broken and what can be repaired. And I had a dream about it. My nephew, I knew he was supposed to play in it, wrote everything down that I saw, took it to the Lord. I know it was a download from the Lord, wrote it all down, got really excited. Because our heart, like you had said, is for the family and really for health. Like, you can be healthy and whole. And that is, this is not an indictment or judgment, but it does seem to be missing from the body of Christ in a lot of ways. And I think that God is raising up people of great integrity and character who are whole and healthy, who are healthy behind closed doors, like who are healthy in their homes, who the same person on the stage, they're the same person, in their home. And so that was maybe our heart behind it, our heart behind everything we do. The most attractive thing on the planet is a healthy family. And everybody longs for it. They may not even know what it is or but they long for it. And then when you see it, you're like, man, that's beautiful. So I think I talk about that in the book. Like, everybody innately knows, if a family were to walk in a restaurant, if you were to walk in a restaurant and see a family and they are all on their cell phones and there's no communication, there's no connection, we would say that's a little sad, especially if you got a 3-year-old, a 7-year, right? But if you look over and you see another family and they are all laughing and just enjoying being together, I mean, we would look at that and say, wow, that's healthy. That's right. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, there are markers where we notice things like that. And so I'm way off from your question, probably because I got in at 2 a.m. last night, but that kind of gives you a little background. Yeah, our heart has always been a healthy home, that's possible, that things that are broken, no matter how broken they are, can always be redeemed, and that family is worth fighting for.
And in the movie, because I was while at Open Door, still on staff,
Yeah.
you came to visit and you gave us and you showed us an early release of probably version number 20, and it's probably
Yeah.
at version 100 now. But what I loved about it, and what I'd love for you to talk about, is you showed in that movie generationally.
Yes. Yes.
Talk about the generational healing, the legacy, and showing the brokenness all the way down.
Yes, yes. Well, I think we live in a world where, man, you've got all these kids cutting off their parents because of disagreements, and that's a whole other thing. I think we talked about that in one episode about grandparents not being involved. Anyway, I just wanted to show that a healing can be generational, and that one person can truly change the trajectory of their family for generations. And I wanted people to begin to think about that if they hadn't already, that what I do today in my home, in the day to day, like every day, cooking and cleaning and being with my family has generational impact. And then also we want to show in the movie how you can heal from childhood wounding and pain, that is very possible, to heal and be free from hurt and offense and grievance and wounds and trauma. And so it's like both spectrums, Yeah.
What I love about it as well is that you bring in commentary in the movie. And so my very own Pastor Troy Brewer was on there.
Yeah.
And he's talking, he's like, all our families are whack. Everyone's got a whack family. He even says it at church. He's like, you bring your family in because you're praying for them. What I loved is that you brought in so many different perspectives of people that were talking about generational legacy, even though the movie is filmed almost like in a colonial time setting, but then you still had current people speaking about what they went through.
Yeah.
I think you had a guy named Julian on there, and he's talking about his life. And I really love that you brought in that commentary. So, but also the movie's not like a 2026 timeframe movie.
It's not, and that's done on purpose. So it is a documentary, but it's a documentary with a story happening at the same time, unfolding. And we really went back and forth. We had discussions over, do we set it in present day with, parents that are totally engrossed in their cell phones, that aren't present with their kids, or but at the end of the day, we're like, man, we may not even have cell phones in 10 years. And we wanted to make something timeless. We wanted to make art, and we wanted to make there's so many metaphors in the movie. Even how the boy, I don't think I'm giving it away, but some scenes are shot on like burnt, scorched earth with dead tree stumps. And so I think we put it sort of time of French Revolution in revolutionary clothes, because as the trailer that just came out says, there must be a revolution in the home. There has to be a revolution in the home. And so that's kind of why we did it. A lot of other reasons, but yeah.
That is right there. What JerriAnn just said is there has to be a revolution in the home. And I think that's all of us. I'm talking about the lost and the saved. There has to be a revolution in the home. And this movie is, and we're going to talk more about the movie, but just talking about the revolution in the home, what God is trying to do is he's trying to reach his church first. That's honestly, if you read the Bible, he's like, I'm coming after my saved ones first. And it's like, they're the ones that are going to be attractive to the lost. But right now, we're not attractive to the lost. They don't want what we have. I don't know if that makes any sense. And this movie is showing, I think, as you're talking about in that revolutionary time. Okay, so there's been people that have seen this movie already or seen trailers of it, like I did. Probably some of the some of the first takes. What kind of feedback are you getting?
I think the screenings were just rough cuts, and we got really great feedback for the most part, and actually even beautiful personal stories of people reconciling with family members and changing things in their home and building a bigger table and all those things. So that's great. We did have some that, hey, this made me angry and irritated because I can't confront that just yet. And it does require it just requires something of you, I think, which I don't want to make anything that doesn't. It will require something of you if you watch it. It will require you to take inventory of, hey, okay, what is in me that is not well? And then change that or move to allow Jesus to change that. But overall, I think the feedback has been positive, especially considering it's not like your typical documentary or it's not like your typical movie. It's together and there's a lot going on. And so, yeah.
Since you've wrote down the download, you've partly produced the download and or directed it. What are you expecting? Well, you just kind of said it, but I believe, because I was in that screening and I was moved. I was absolutely moved. And to me, the movie was already perfect.
Well, that is great because it was not.
It was already hitting me.
Oh yeah.
between the eyes, in the chest, because everything that movie showed, everything has been the cry of my heart.
Yes. Yeah.
Has been the cry of my heart. And it honestly has been the cry of so many hearts. And something happened recently as I was on vacation visiting family. My son said to me, he said, "Dad, you are now the dad that you've always wanted." And JerriAnn, that's repair the breach.
Yeah.
That's it, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for. Like, we're looking for that one person to see this film, to understand. And you said it, I think, on last episode. We want transformation without change. Mm-hmm. This movie is going to require us to do the change. But what happens if we choose to want the transformation without the change?
Yeah. You know, saying that about your son, it reminds me, one thing I love about the movie, I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but I think it showcases the heart of the Father God, in a way that I haven't seen in any movie. I mean, I know we've had portrayals of Jesus and let's see, there's been The Shack, but that was different. And so I really feel like it does such a good job of showing God as Father. So I shouldn't say anything more because I'll give it away. But and my brother-in-law plays that part. And when I see it, I just don't see my brother-in-law. I see the face of, like, I see that's how God looks at us. That's how God looks at me. That's how God responds. I mean, I feel like he did such a phenomenal job at showcasing that.
Man, so what's it like making a movie?
Yeah. Okay. So I think, we all say faith is risk. I think I'm going to change my definition, it absolutely is risk. I think I'm going to change my definition to faith as rest. And God's really been talking to me a lot about that lately, about viewing faith as rest and being in a place of whatever he asks me to do, whatever I'm working on, whatever project I'm put my hand to, a complete trust and surrender to that process and complete rest. And I wonder if that's a better definition than faith is risk. I don't know. It's just what I've been thinking about the past 3 days. So I thought I'd throw that out at you, John. We can talk about that later. But I think, yeah, what was your question?
So what?
About making a movie. So yeah, resting in the the hard decisions and, knowing when to collaborate and then when to not compromise on what God's given you. And that's with anything, whether it's a movie or a project or a business or all. Yeah. So what's it like making a movie? It's like anything else I've done for the Lord. It's been fun and it's an adventure. And so, my kids and my husband, we call these things our God adventures. And we are always on some God adventure that he's telling us to go on. And so the movie was that. It was an adventure and it wasn't always easy. And there were really hard conversations. And there were moments when Meg and I, who should be here sitting here talking with us, who produced it too, my sister, we had moments of disagreement, of hard conversations, of things like, oh God, what have we done? And resting in what he's told us, resting in his truth, resting in what we know to be true, and resting in what he's given us to do. And so I think, goodness, that sounds like the movie's been a roller coaster, but it has been a grand adventure with more to come. And I think that's such a picture too of serving the Lord.
And what you're saying is in that adventure sounds like, as you're saying that, I could just see the prophet Isaiah, taking on the 450 prophets of Baal, and then after he runs and he's running for his life, and then he's like burned out and he's just like, Lord, now just take my life because I'm the last one left.
Yeah.
Like God calls us into tremendous exploits. And actually, if you go through that, just like what you're saying, is you go through the adventures with the Lord and you're called to do something so great, even though we don't see the Lord, you have that adventure with him and you're operating in that rest. You can trust him. But in order for us to have that trust in the Lord, we have to be willing to do the hard things. We have to be willing to step out of the boat and stand on the water. Because if not, we won't have the faith to be able to stand when he's not standing in front of us and we're alone. And there's going to be so many people that are going to be touched through this film because you, Megan, your family were all willing to say yes and resting in that, even though the process wasn't easy.
Yeah. Amen. I think, not that we would say I know what's at stake, but I do think there's so much at stake if you don't do what God's put you here to do. There's so much at stake if I don't do what God's put me here to do. There is so much at stake if you don't do what God's put you here to do. And I am driven by that.
And God had you at one point, and we've talked about it multiple times. At one point, God has sent you into strip clubs and he's had you write books and you've done conferences. And now God is saying, now I want you to make movies. And what I think is beautiful is in every one of those pictures, God sends you to where the people's at. Mm-hmm. He's not asking you to build something and bring the people to you. We know that people live right here. People live on these things. They're in the movie theaters. They're going to seek out entertainment. They're going to get it. And God is saying, JerriAnn, Matt, family, I've called you now to bring something that is going to restore families, because going back to Malachi chapter 4, if the hearts of the fathers do not turn back to the children, I'm going to curse the land. And so God is always sending a remnant. He always has a remnant. Yeah. Even Isaiah in that moment, when he thought he was alone, he said, what are you talking about? You're not the only one. JerriAnn, I see this movie as part of the remnant. God is always pursuing his people, and he's coming through the arts on this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He selected a woman that had nothing to do with movies, and he said, but she'll say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we laugh because at the beginning of every year, we write down our prayers. I've said that, and Matt and I laughed because we were like, should we just stop doing this? Because the things that God's done the past few years haven't even been on our prayer list, our goal list, what we want to accomplish in the year. It's been far greater. And I think that's why we use the word adventure, because with him, it is far greater. It far supersedes like your expectations of what things need to happen and what you're believing for. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited.
Okay. I know that you have some screenings coming up.
Yeah.
Where and when are some of these screenings?
Okay, so yeah, we kick off in April with
Of 2026.
with an entire like Repair the Breach tour. And so we start April 13th in Burleson, Texas, and then April 23rd we're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, April 20th Tallahassee, Florida, April 27th Valdosta, Georgia, and the 28th you are able to stream it. So now we're getting in a lot of like reports of people having planning watch parties on the 28th, and we have some discussion questions too available for small groups, or churches can stream it. That's being set up. So yeah, April's going to be a good month.
I'm glad you mentioned follow-up questions. You also wrote books to go with this.
Yep.
Talk about the books.
They'll come out in April too. So one of them is a decree book for adults, kids too, but adults. And so we have decrees and prayers over your family. So it's a Bible verse, then a decree, and then a prayer. And the book has 16 chapters, prayers that you can pray. And then at the end, it really gives you a template to do it yourself. So to write down specific prayers for your family based on scripture. And so that's the adult book. And then we have a kids book, a chapter book. It's Repair the Breach Young Readers Edition. And that's probably what I'm most excited about, because it really teaches kids that not every thought you have is your own thought, and how to distinguish between lies and the truth. Because in the movie too, this may be a spoiler, I don't know, the little boy fights himself. And so it shows sometimes, that's probably too much, but
It's good.
so the book is just a more descriptive account of the little boy's journey in the movie. And it has some illustrations in there, probably for ages like 7 to 14, but that's Repair the Breach Young Readers Edition.
Well, and okay. I'm glad you guys did the follow-up, because it's so important. We can be inspired, right? I can go to church on Sunday and be inspired and do nothing with it.
Yeah.
If we're truly going to repair the breach, if we truly want heaven in our homes, and someone, you said it takes one person to fight for it.
Yep.
And it's going to be your responsibility once you see this movie, because once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You're now responsible for what you've seen and what you're feeling. And in order for you to have heaven in your home, and in order for you to be transformed and have a renewing of your mind, someone in that household has to take hold of this. They have to grab those resources, and you have to speak these decrees over yourself, over your family, over your mind, over your finances. So it's not enough to go to the movies and be inspired. How do we be transformed?
I think that's such a good point, because after breakthrough, there has to be follow through. In Heaven in My Home, I have an end of every chapter. That's how I ended it, with the breakthrough and then the follow through. This is what you can do. These are practical things that you can apply in your home. And we also, I wanted to mention this, we're launching, it's called 100,000 Families campaign. And so we're going to start that in April too, but we'll have like where a family can watch the movie and then they can share it with another family. And before they share it, there's a prayer that they can download to pray for that family. And so we'll set that up too. And you'll
It's
hear
the
more.
pay it forward in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Pray it forward.
Yeah.
Pray it forward, right?
Pray
it forward.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Okay, so we've talked about it. We've talked about how it came about, the adventure, what you believe the achievement is, or what you believe the Lord wants to do in this film. What parting thoughts regarding the movie that you want and people to take away?
Just that there is hope for your family, that you don't have to stay stagnant or stuck or hopeless. There's great hope for family. And I want them leaving knowing that. But to repair the breach in your family, you have to repair the breach in yourself. And that's where it starts. That is our theme, our tagline. You know, even in the Young Readers Edition, we have a letter to parents where we say that. You know, to repair the breach in your home, you have to repair the breach in yourself. And so you have to look at those places in you, those places in your heart and your mind, that for whatever reason are still wounded or hurt or where there's pain, places that need to be healed, because we know the healer. And so that's the heart of the movie. I want people to leave knowing that Jesus, this is only possible through Jesus, that Jesus is the healer. He is the great repairer, the great redeemer, the great transformer. Like transformation is only possible through Jesus. And so that would be my heart and my hope behind people going to see it.
Man, I'm not trying to start this session all over, but man, you said something.
I know, I saw your face.
I was like, oh my goodness, because so many of us watch movies or we're sitting in a sermon and we're poking our spouses or I know who this is for. Oh man, he is speaking right to them when really the Lord is speaking right to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
that's a whole other podcast, John.
I know. I'm like, I just love that you said that, because transformation, and I'll end with this, transformation cannot start in our homes unless it starts with us.
Man, no doubt. I remember a sermon one time Darren Stock preached. I think it was at Open Door. And he said something about, it was so funny to me because of how he, his mannerisms and all. Nobody else was laughing, and I was just laughing. But he said something, this woman was married, and she was like married to Frank, and she kept nagging Frank about going to church and nagging him about doing this, and he's messing up and he's not doing right and he's a terrible husband. And Darren was going on and on about what Frank needs is a pizza party. He needs to be celebrated. He needs to, it was just so beautiful, because it was what we were saying. So often we focus on the external, like, Frank, you better change everything, instead of, wow, look at Frank taking out the trash. Thank you for doing that. It's just, I don't know. That was a tangent, wasn't it, Angel? But yes, yeah. But I've always loved that. I never forgot that, because it's so true. We do need to, how are we communicating with our family? Because with family, you see the worst. You just do. I was just telling the kids about this week as they were fighting with one another. Hey, we see the worst. And so we want to believe the best. We want to treat others better than they deserve. Now, how could you have done that? And then, of course, the kids are like, well, he could have done, or she could have done. And it's like, no. Who do you manage? You manage yourself. And so just those conversations, man, if we could grab a hold of that. Yeah.
Amen. Well, repair the breach. Don't forget, in April, it's going to be going out to several locations. It's going to be coming across social media. So be looking at A Light Breaks Through or Repair the Breach movie. Look at A Life Transformed, John Arroyo. And there's so many places that are already starting to share it on their content. I know Open Door Church in Burleson, Texas, they were already showing it today. Pastor Leanna's preaching today there at Open Door, and she was already talking about the movie. Be on the lookout, but also don't go to the movie hoping to point someone else's flaws out, because a change starts with us. And I'm not even pointing at you on the other side of that camera. I'm actually pointing at me, because change has to start here. In order for my son to say, Dad, you are now the dad that you've always wanted. Man, in order for my son to make that statement, it had to start here. So friends, I pray that you take this, you watch this movie, you share it, and you pray it forward. All right, Legacy Unscripted. Until next time, we'll see you soon.